Morning guys, we are looking at a mock test from Watnall in this video, and we're starting just outside the test centre. You'll see the entry on the right there, and this test is done in my manual car, which some of you might notice, my red Peugeot, which is now off the road as I've taken to the dark side of automatic and intend never to return. One thing you'll notice straight away is the conditions here. We've got quite wet roads and quite dreary conditions, and as a result, my advice for this is just do everything at a slightly lowered speed, because of course the wet road is going to reduce your grip and increase the risk of you slipping if you do anything too quickly. You may notice as well the reflection of our headlights on some of the signs up ahead. So in conditions like this, I'd advise putting your headlights on your dipped headlights, and that will enable people to see you more effectively, giving you a better chance of keeping safe while you're out and about. At the mini roundabout here, we are continuing straight ahead to first exit. People do a really nice job here of slowing down, checking the mirrors, and making sure the car's on the right path with a problem before committing to taking this position. The priority, of course, lies with vehicles coming from the right hand side, like the white Volkswagen there, and you're expected to give way to those. Entering the 50-mile-an-hour zone, as I said, because of the wet conditions, I'd be quite happy travelling at about 40 along here in these conditions. This is just going to reduce the risk of any slipping or skidding, and if you come across any large puddles or flooded bits of road, then at least you're not going to hit them too fast. You have more time to respond to them. So in poor conditions like this, do travel at a lowered speed throughout your driving test. Just up ahead, I'm going to record a fault for normal positioning. Now in these conditions in particular, this is quite risky. However, the pupil maintains good control over the car. You'll notice the water on the left hand side of the road here and how my pupil leans into that. And as she does, that front wheel, it pulls the car to the left slightly. She does recover it really well and doesn't cause any high risk, and because she's travelling at a lowered speed, it makes it easier to do. However, that's exactly why when we travel at a lowered speed in these conditions, if that wheel pulls and we're travelling too fast, we're going to lose control of the car very quickly. So the other option, of course, is if it's safe, lean out around that water, don't drive through it, and that will keep you in full control of the car. Avoid large sections of water because it's going to snatch at those wheels and compromise your control over the car. As we come into the 30-mile-an-hour zone up ahead, we're going to be taking the next left, which is signposted Newthorpe. Now this junction is particularly tight, so you want to make sure your speed is down, and as this is in a manual car, you'll be aiming for second gear and about 10 to 15 mile an hour on approach, making sure you slow down a little bit more as you come into that corner and look up into that road. Once you start turning in, it is uphill as well, so you need to start adding a little bit of power to get the car up and avoid the car stuttering and struggling to get up that hill. So the pupil does a really nice job of doing that, keeping the car under good control. I've asked my pupil to pull up on the left here and do a hill start. So you'll be asked to pull over several times on your driving test. Once we'll be on a hill like this, and all the examiners are after is that you can pull up at a safe place. So my pupil's picked a spot between driveways. There's good visibility up and down the road, and she's not causing a problem to the traffic. And then when you move on, of course, that you can move away safely and under control, and that you're checking over that right blind spot before you move out. So my pupil here does a really nice job of demonstrating that. Absolutely perfect clutch control as she moved away, and good observations before pulling out. Spot on. up ahead we have a school zone and an advisory of 20 mile an hour. Now the lights are not flashing on this occasion, so this means the schools are not in. It is actually on a Saturday morning this mock test was done, so when those lights are not flashing, it means we don't necessarily have to adhere to that 20 mile an hour advice. But when those lights are flashing, we should definitely be looking around more, traveling at a lowered speed, and checking our mirrors more, just being more cautious, because that's a warning of more activity in the area because of the school starting or finishing. You notice there's quite a few parked cars up ahead, so when we're moving through these gaps, the mirrors should be covered regularly so we know what's going on behind. And our speed again, just lowered down because we've got less visibility and less space as we go through here. So anytime you've got less space or less visibility, just come off that power, slow down, give yourself more thinking time. The end of the road here, we're going to be turning left, and this junction can get quite busy at times, and it can be quite hard to see out of it, especially to the left side where the shop sits right on the corner of the junction. The pupil does a really nice job here, slowing right down so she can see before she makes the decision to stop. If you of course can see a clear junction, then keep yourself moving. As we come out, this bit's a little bit tight as well, so coming down here you want to keep a very good eye on that left mirror, just ensuring that you've got good clearance on the parked cars, ideally a door width if possible. But of course, where you've got to get tighter, we keep more attention on that mirror and we reduce that speed even further. My advice down here is you shouldn't be doing more than about 15 to 20 mile an hour at the most while you've got oncoming cars. If you get a large vehicle coming the way, of course, the best thing is just pull in and let them pass. Go through the green lights, my advice is always to have a little look to the left and right, even if the lights are in your favour and it looks clear. This way, if anything is going on, such as a cyclist or a blue light vehicle coming through, you're going to catch it nice and early. So I like seeing that from my pupils. It's not going to fault you if you don't do it, but of course it's going to keep you safe if you do it. Traffic lights here, notice we've got the red and the green lights. The green arrow saying straight ahead, the red for the right turn, so my pupil carries on really nicely there. And then just up ahead we have Giltbrook and the IKEA roundabout. Coming round here, we're going to follow round the bend up to that first roundabout, going straight ahead at the first roundabout, and then going right at the second roundabout towards Watnall. So on this one, my pupil does approach it a little bit too quickly here, causing a bit of an issue on the way into the roundabout. She finds it a little difficult to control the steering as she comes in. You can see her swaying slightly into the other lane. And then as we come off the roundabout, still a little bit fast. This was because she was doing it in third gear, so the ideal is coming down to second gear for those kind of things. Note the arrows there, we've moved over to the right hand lane to turn right, and the left hand lane being left only for that first exit. As we do come into the roundabout, the pupil forgets to put her right signal on, so I'm going to record a driver fault for that. We should be signalling right when we're continuing around the roundabout. It helps other vehicles know what we're up to and plan according to that. As we come round, she gets into the wrong lane at this position, so on that curve we should have shuffled into the left hand lane. Having stayed in the right hand lane like this, she cannot leave the roundabout from this position. Trying to leave from the right hand lane here would result in a serious fault, so she makes the sensible decision to carry on round again, keeping in that right-hand lane as we go into the bridge. And then as we come around the next curve, you notice the markings where it narrows to one lane and swings wide. And this is because of the markings that you'll see as we come around the curve. Those hatched markings on the right are telling you not to drive through that section, and even though they're quite faded, they are apparent and the examiners will expect you to obey them. This next section, she comes out into the left-hand lane, and this is not the correct position to be. Again, if you find yourself in the wrong lane, what you should do is go where that lane points. So in this case, what she should have done is left the roundabout towards Ilkeston, but instead she pulls herself back around to the right to head towards Matlock. And whilst that's the correct direction, it's the incorrect way of using that lane, so it's got to be reported as a serious fault, particularly because the mirrors weren't checked while she did it. As we come round, we're in the correct position now to leave the Matlock, and we're going to follow this left-hand lane off and up the slip road onto the A610. It's quite a fast-paced road, so as we go up that slip road, we want to be building our speed up confidently to that 50-mile-an-hour limit before we merge in, and that way we can merge in more effectively to the moving traffic. If you're going too slowly, that traffic's going to be gaining on you very quickly, and as a result, you're going to find it very, very hard to join into that road. So coming up the slip road, she's keeping in the left-hand lane, which is absolutely spot on. She's building the speed up really, really well, and as we get to the top of it, she checks her mirrors, and she puts her right signal on, and she checks over her shoulder before merging into the main road. Just after we do merge in, we notice the national speed limit signs telling us we can get up to 70 miles an hour on this road as well. Now, whilst we don't have to get up to 70 because of the conditions, my advice is to get at least up to 60 miles an hour on these kind of roads. Where you do encounter slow moving vehicles, if you're going to be on here for a while, then by all means get yourself out into that second lane and overtake. Otherwise, sit back and just match your speed, keeping a good following distance, particularly in the wet conditions like this. We don't want to be getting too close behind other vehicles. As we're traveling along here as well, we should also be checking the mirrors frequently in order to keep ourselves aware of what's catching up from behind. This is also going to keep you more aware of what's on your right, so if you need to move lanes to allow someone to merge in from a slip road or a lay-by like this, then you can create that space to help them get in safely. And whilst they do have to give way to the main road, and that means we don't have to move out of their way, it's always better to try and create that space for them to merge in if we can. So be very mindful of entry roads on the left side and lay-bys as you're coming up, and watch out for cars that might be trying to merge into the main road. Up ahead, we're going to be leaving the main road and then going up the slip road, turning right towards Mansfield at the roundabout. As we decelerate from high speeds, this is a really easy error to make for learner drivers, so be very mindful of the gear changes. We're in 6th gear at the moment, and my advice would be as we start reducing that speed, we want to slip into 4th gear. What my pupil does, unfortunately, is slips into 2nd gear, and this causes the engine to rev and the car to decelerate more quickly. Now, if we've got someone close behind us, that's going to create a problem, of course, as the deceleration wouldn't be paired with brake lights, so it wouldn't give them any warning that that's going to happen. As we come up to the roundabout as well, we should be slipping down into 2nd gear ready for that turn, just making note of the 30 mile an hour sign as well, so the reduced speed limit. My pupil unfortunately comes up a little bit too quick and doesn't check effectively before joining in. There was a car coming, but it was far enough away that it didn't cause an issue. We should also be signalling right as we come around the roundabout and then left to leave the roundabout. My pupil unfortunately doesn't signal correctly for that. She forgets the right signal as she comes round, signals left to leave, changes lane, uses the mirrors. So whilst the path she followed was really good, the observations and the signalling could have been a lot better on this occasion. And as a result, she's picked up 2 more driver faults for those issues. on the left here, you'll notice a direction sign. Now this is quite early on in my opinion, but it's telling you what lane to use. Left lane for Mansfield, right lane for Town Centre. And these lanes come into effect as you approach the traffic lights at the Eastwood Junction. You've got a couple of cyclists here, so the pupil does a good job keeping their space, slowing down and lowering the gear before trying to make any effort to go around them. Just make sure whenever you're passing cyclists, you give them plenty of room and keep an eye on that left mirror. And if you're going to move in front of them, you're giving them plenty of space. You're not just pulling in straight into their path. This junction here is also quite steep, so we want to make sure we give the car a good bit of power as we go. Otherwise, it's going to struggle to get up that hill. The pupil does a really good job there. She often expressed that hill starts really concern her, and yet doing that hill start was spot on. As we come around the bend here, you'll see the markings for Town Centre in the middle lane. So the pupil does a nice job at following those. Another set of lights, and of course another hill start. As we come around the curve, we're sticking in that left-hand lane, which is absolutely spot on again. And as we come around, you might notice the car at the top of the hill that decides to ignore the red light and carry on. We absolutely shouldn't do that, even if the road looks clear. So it's a legal requirement to stop at the red light, and the examiner will not let that slide if you drive through. As we turn left here, it is a very tight turn, so just very mindful of the steering and positioning. The best way to tackle these tight corners is keep the speed low and look up into the new road. Don't look down at the curbs or at the front of the car, which I find is a common issue with a lot of learner drivers. Look up at where you want the car to go and let your hands follow as you start pedaling the car forward. Coming through high streets like this, of course, we've got to watch out for the amount of crossings, the amount of pedestrian activity. Being 20 past 8 on a Saturday morning, it's lovely and quiet on this occasion, but it can get very busy down here. So we want to be scanning those zebra crossings. Anyone who looks like they might want to cross the road, we should be cautious and ready to hold back for. So just like ahead, we've got a few people crossing. If anyone is on that crossing or approaching it, you're expected to stop and let them cross. Give them that opportunity. If we don't give pedestrians that opportunity, then that will result in a serious fault. And any serious fault, of course, results in a fail on your test. Just up ahead, I'm going to get my pupil to do an angle start. So earlier we did a hill start. An angle start is where we pull up about a car length behind a vehicle, like my pupil's doing here. The examiners want to see you get tucked into the curb nice and safely behind it, and they'll specifically say don't worry about driveways when you do this one, so just pull up behind the car as they instruct. When you move away, take it nice and slowly, check over your shoulder as you're pulling out. Make sure you release the handbrake fully as well, because leaving it on the last click can cause the handbrake warning light to stay on. Most cars will warn you as you pull away as well if you've got the handbrake slightly on. My pupil unfortunately doesn't release it fully, but then corrects it when the car warns her that the handbrake's still connected. So because it's corrected, it go down as driver fault. If she'd have left that on, or she'd have left it long enough that the examiner intervened, then that would go down as a serious fault. Just by these traffic lights, we'll be taking a left turn, and this is quite a tight junction, so we want to be bringing that speed down, making sure we can see into the turn and see that there's no parked cars or that there's a clear path before we commit fully to it. Quite often you can come around this corner and find yourself at the back of the queue pretty much straight away while cars are waiting to get through this section of the road due to oncoming vehicles. Because it's Saturday morning, again, it's pretty quiet, so we haven't got that issue. But again, my pupil does a really nice job at keeping that nice and slow so she can confirm there's a clear space. ask my pupil to pull up on the left again at this road, and of course the aim is to pick somewhere safe and convenient where we're not causing a problem. So she's picked a nice spot there between driveways, tucked right into the curb, give the vehicle behind plenty of notice by putting her signals on, and then when we move away again, not forgetting that blind spot before you pull out, and making sure you signal if there's anyone around to benefit from that. If you do have vehicles approaching, sometimes the best bet is just to sit back and let them pass. Don't try and pull out and rush away, because if you don't make enough progress and they do catch up with you and you cause them to slow down, that's going to go down as a serious fault on your driving test. Just a note on these solid lines as well, when you're asked to pull over, don't pull up where there's a solid line in the middle of the road. These lines are in place to tell vehicles not to overtake. So of course if you pull up where there's a solid line, you're forcing vehicles to overtake, and usually it's because it's not safe, because of poor visibility such as the bend here, or it can be because of a hill or a dip in the road that means we can't see what's coming the other way. So we don't want to pull up where those solid lines are. The end of the road here, we're going to be turning right onto the main road, and that's going to take us back towards the driving test centre. It is a give way, and of course we want to make sure we get right to the end of the road so we can see effectively before pulling out into that main road. My pupil does a lovely job there, keeping the speed really low as we reach the end of the road, just making sure nothing's coming before pulling out. We're straight into the 30 zone, and then it changes to 50 very shortly. So we want to be very aware of those speed changes. If we miss that speed change and don't pick up the speed, then of course we're going to cause disruption to the cars behind if there are any. And of course that's going to cause people to want to overtake you, so it causes a risk in that sense too. Whilst we don't want to go too fast because of the wet conditions, like I said earlier, we don't want to get caught by any of those puddles at the roadside snatching at the wheels. We do want to make good progress, so again, we can get to a good 40 mile an hour along here in these conditions, and that's absolutely fine. If we're sitting lower than that, that can cause problems for vehicles behind, and that's where you're going to potentially pick yourself up a serious fault. We're going to be taking this next left, and it's quite a tight corner, so of course the aim is to slow down nice and early, forcing the traffic behind to slow down with you. You're not turning in and slowing down on the corner, letting them get too close. Notice the 30 mile an hour sign as we turn as well, and you can see how tight that is. Pupil does a really nice job slowing on the approach, bringing the car in nice and slowly and coordinating around that corner. We're then going to pull up on the right hand side to do our manoeuvre, the right reverse. So the aim of this one, of course, is to pick a safe spot on the right hand side of the road to pull over, get yourself nice and tucked into the curb and nice and straight with the road. Then we reverse the car around about 2 car lengths before the examiner will ask you to stop. The aim of this is we want to keep it nice and close to the curb, and we want to be looking around frequently. Now, I've marked a control fault here with my pupil. Now this is because as she pulls over, she puts the clutch down but doesn't brake effectively, so as a result when the car stops and starts rolling backwards, she corrects it pretty much straight away, so it's only going to go down as a driver fault. However, that could escalate very quickly if you don't correct it. I'm also going to record any serious fault observations here because my picture just did not look around sufficiently while she was doing this. When you're reversing like this, you need to check your left shoulder and your right shoulder frequently for vehicles behind, for pedestrians on the footpath, and keep an eye on everything around you. If you're just staring ahead, staring at the right mirror while you're doing this, then it's not going to help you in terms of keeping safe. You're responsible for making sure that nothing's behind you as you reverse the car. When we move away again, not forgetting that left shoulder as we pull out. Of course, we want to make sure there's nothing coming from the left blind spot. if you recall, as we turned into this road, it is a 30-mile-an-hour zone, and this is quite a common place for pupils to forget about that because it looks like it should be a faster road. It's very rural, it's very green, and there's not a lot going on around you. However, that speed limit applies until you see signs that say different. So unfortunately, my pupil here, who picked up to about 40 miles an hour before slowing down and correcting herself, just got herself a serious fault for doing that. We're also going to pick up a serious fault for the position as she approaches the end of the road here. This is still a two-way road, and as you've seen with the van facing the other way, we can have oncoming vehicles. However, my pupil seems to think that it's one way for some reason, pulls onto the right-hand side, and I've had to correct her before we reach the end of the road there. This is a really high-risk thing to do, and of course, just a simple lapse in concentration can cause you to put yourself in that kind of dangerous situation. It's not something that you let go on the test, it's got to go down as a serious fault because if you let go of risk involved, if someone had come the other way, that would be a pretty close call at best. It just shows how easy it is to make a silly mistake like that when we are under pressure when we're being watched. Left at the mini roundabout, so we give one a pass from the right. My pupil is a little bit firm on the brake as she gets there, but I don't think it was worth marking any fault because we had nothing behind us and it wasn't an excessive stop, it was just a little bit of a jolt. Of course, the aim is we want to keep the examiner as comfortable and relaxed as we can in order to get that pass. Now we're just coming back up to Watnall Driving Test Centre, and to finish up I'm going to bring my pupil to the car park just outside the test centre gates. So I'm going to bring the video to an end here. I hope you found it useful in preparing for your own driving test. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.